Hey friends, if you're looking for quick tips to help you jumpstart your week, you are in the right place. I'm Lori Palau, host of the popular weekly podcast, Organized Life, founder of Simply Be Organized. And every Monday, I am here to bring you a quick organizing tip in under 15 minutes. All you have to do is click the subscribe or follow button wherever you're listening, and let's get started. Hey everybody, I'm Lori Palau. Welcome to today's tip of the week from this Organized Life podcast. If you are new to our show, welcome. We are happy to have you here. I keep checking our numbers and our show is growing week by week. So if this is your first time, make sure to click that follow or subscribe button wherever you're listening or watching. We also have a weekly newsletter that I often forget to mention, but it's basically our weekly tips delivered to your inbox. So pretty simple, nothing complex. Very, very, very rarely is there anything that we're like trying to sell you. Most often it is really just a recap of our episodes, each week our quick tips, which are on Mondays, and on Thursdays, they are a recap of our guest that we had on. I know sometimes people get busy. Like I'm a podcast junkie, so I'm always like looking at what new episodes drop, but sometimes people aren't. And so we like to remind them or just give them a heads up if they're not active in their podcast apps that, hey, here's an episode that might interest you. This is the topic. This is the guest. This is what we're all about. So we have a link in the show notes if you want to kind of get on our email list. Like I said, the only time we're ever trying to sell you something, I'm using that term like air quote very loosely, is if we're launching a new offering, like our Enneagram and Clutter stuff, when we have our Enneagram and Clutter mini courses or framework that we're trying to promote. If that's something that you're interested in, or of course, if we have like a book release or something like that. But other than that, we're really here to just offer inspiration and information and resources for you to help live a less cluttered and more simplified and organized life. So again, really easy. We don't believe in email clutter. So it is just, if you're looking for those quick tips delivered to you, sign up. You can hit the link below or just go to our homepage. It's right there. So check that out. Okay. So on to today's tip. So I know it's funny. I was looking at the timing that we are releasing this episode, and it's the end of September, which I know summer is often a big travel time. So you would have thought I may have timed this differently, but here we are. So today's tip has to do with making sure your passports are up to date. So renewing your passports, getting your passports if you don't have one. But this is something that I've seen more often than not, where people will have a passport. Maybe they don't travel super often, and the passport will just expire. And usually I forget, I should know this, if your passport's good for 10 years. But even if you go, maybe it's 7 years, I'm not sure. But if you go from a child to an adult, like I remember Logan just had to this past summer go because her passport was expiring. But the last time she got a passport, she was a minor. So Josh and I both had to be there. Now she's an adult legally. So she had to go on her own and fill out a different set of paperwork. I'm not sure how much of this is federal and how much is of state. I think it's pretty federal, but I know like she had to go down to the courthouse, and it was like, all the different like kind of tedious, annoying things that you have to do. You have to pay by check. They still haven't automated. You can't use Apple Pay, but there are so many things, some things you can pay online, but other things you actually have to go in person. So these are things just like when you get your driver's license renewed, sometimes you can do parts of it online, but other things you have to go in person. So make sure that you are proactive with that stuff, because oftentimes what will happen is, and I've seen this happen, unfortunately, more often than not with clients, is that they will not really think about it. Then they will be planning a trip that requires them to have their passport. They will be going out of the country. And then they are getting ready. It's getting closer. They're getting ready to pack for the trip, and they go to get their passport and they find out that it's expired. I've had this happen with a couple people where they've had to actually like drive to the airport to do the quick 24-hour turnaround, quick passport processing. They have to pay extra fees, get all that done. I heard another story not too long ago from somebody that said that they were taking a family trip and didn't even check the passport, just grabbed them from the house, whether they had them in their safe or in a file box or wherever, grabbed them, didn't even look at them, got to the airport online, and one of the family members' passports was expired and they could not board the plane. So, what I'm telling you people is if that is something I feel like, again, I just think everybody should have a passport. You never know what is going to happen, where or when life is going to take you places. So I just think it's good for everybody to have a passport. If you don't think you're ever going to be traveling outside the country, maybe you don't need one. That's fine. But if there's a possible chance that you might be traveling outside the country, I highly recommend just having one so that if you need it, it's there. Again, ease of retrieval, people want to make sure that we have the things that we want or that we need when we need them. That is the whole point of all this. And so take after this episode is over, go look. And again, I'm not going to get into work and talk about where we can store important documents in another episode, but we want to have one central place where we keep our passports that is safe, that is accessible to us, but not necessarily, that's going to get lost. We want to just keep it in the kitchen drawer. That is not the place to keep your passports, people. And again, I found passports in all kinds of random places when I've been decluttering with people. And you want to have it in a place that is designated, that it's not going to accidentally get lost or thrown away. These are all really important. But again, go and check the renewal dates. And I believe there are some stipulations that if you are going to be traveling outside the country within 6 months of when your passport is up for renewal, you have to get it renewed. So even if you're like, oh, my passport doesn't renew for 4 or 5 months, if you're planning on leaving the country within that time frame, if there's not a 6-month buffer, you may have to get it done. So just double check, because the last thing that you want to do is get stuck with all the red tape of trying to turn around, having all the extra aggravation and paying extra money for all these expedited services and be at the mercy of the federal government to get you your passport so that you can go on vacation or go on your work trip or whatever it is that you're looking to do. So again, today's tip of the week, make sure your passports are current, up to date, within the same guidelines of safe travel. And if you need to get them renewed, go and do it. We want things to be at most an inconvenience, not a catastrophe. That's our motto here. Inconvenience, not a catastrophe. So I hope this helps. If you like this episode, share it with a friend. I think it's really important that we continue encouraging and nurturing other people in areas of like personal development. If you're struggling with something, chances are somebody else is struggling with it too. So we don't have to do this alone. There's no shame in this. And our show is here to tell you that we are real and we are walking alongside you in your journey to live a more organized life. So until next week, I'm Lori Plow. Peace out. Thanks for tuning in. If you like this episode, please spread the love and share it with your friends. And if this is your first time joining us, make sure to click the subscribe button wherever you are listening so you never miss an episode. And while you're there, please leave us a review so other people know that our show is worth the listen. You can also find us on YouTube and Instagram at This Organized Life Podcast. And if you'd like to connect with us, you can head on over to our website at simply the letter B like boy organized.com, which is filled with tons of resources, including free downloads, checklists, links to our amazing organizing partners, and all of our digital offerings. I'll see you next week for another episode of This Organized Life.